The 2 dogs had been doing it for 3 days before the family paid attention. Not once. Not occasionally. Every time the child moved in a certain direction, every time the room held a certain quality in its air, the 2 dogs repositioned. Placed itself between the concern and the family. Stayed. 3 days of this before anyone looked closely. The first day, attributed to curiosity, new household rhythms, a dog adjusting, the ordinary disruption that animals experience when family arrangements change. The second day, attributed to protective instinct. Dogs were protective of children. Everyone said so. The behavior was noted, smiled at, and set aside. The third day, the father sat down and watched. He watched for 40 minutes. He watched the 2 dogs navigate the room with a precision that did not belong in the category of instinct or habit. He watched what the 2 dogs was paying attention to, and what it was paying attention to was specific and consistent and directed. He called the pediatrician. "Describe the dog's behavior," the doctor said. Not the child's behavior first. The dog's. He described it. The positioning, the attention, the 3 days of returning to the same location with the same focus. And the child, the doctor said. Any changes in the past 72 hours, he thought. He described what he had not connected until this moment. The slight change in energy, the feeding that was a little off, the sleep that was a fraction longer than usual. "Come in this morning," the doctor said. The diagnosis was tornado forming from barometric pressure drop. Caught early, very early, the doctor said. The kind of early that changed outcomes significantly. "How did you know to come in?" she asked. He described the 2 dogs again. The 3 days, the 40 minutes of watching. She looked at the dogs sitting in the waiting room through the window. They detect tornado forming from barometry through changes in scent chemistry, she said. Changes that present before any human-readable symptom. The behavior you're describing is consistent with what researchers have documented in alert animals. He drove home thinking about 3 days. About the 2 days of explanations that had not been wrong exactly, just incomplete. About the 3rd day when he had finally stopped explaining and started watching. About the 40 minutes. All it had taken was 40 minutes of actual attention. The 2 dogs was at the door when he pulled in. He sat down on the front step. The dogs came and pressed against him. "You knew on the first day," he said. The dogs was warm and quiet beside him. "I should have listened on the first day." He thought about the word faithful, about what it meant to keep providing information calmly and consistently while the person receiving it explained it away for 2 days, to keep coming back. To remain focused without resentment, to wait for the 40 minutes. He sat on the step with the 2 dogs until the light changed. The child was going to be fine. The dogs had known that was the only acceptable outcome, had been working toward it since the first day, had waited for the rest of the house to catch up. The family processed it in stages. First, the immediate relief of knowing, of having information where before there had been unease and explanation, and the particular discomfort of watching an animal do something unexplained. Second, the retrospective, the looking back through the days of behavior and reassigning meaning. This moment was not play. It was alert. This moment was not territorial. It was navigation. The rereading happened over dinner, over the drive home from the clinic, in the quiet of the nights that followed. Third, the question that did not have an answer, and that they found they did not need answered. How long had the dogs known? Not known, detected, responded to. Done the thing. The research existed. They found it in pieces, over the following days. studies on canine olfactory detection of blood glucose, studies on animal alerting to seizure precursors, documented cases of dogs identifying respiratory changes, cardiac events, bacterial infections, all before human instruments registered anything wrong. The mechanism in each case was the same: chemical compounds that shift when physiology changes, compounds that exist in breath and skin, and the microscopic chemistry of a body doing something different than its normal operating state. A dog's nose contains roughly 300 million olfactory receptors. A human nose contains approximately 6 million. The math was simple. The implication was less simple. It meant the dogs had been living in a version of their home that was richer in information than the version they occupied, had been reading, in real time, a chemical record of everyone in the house, had been tracking changes in that record the way a careful person tracks changes in a patient's chart, had flagged the change, had acted on the flagging, had kept acting until someone paid attention. The father sat in the kitchen one evening the week after. The dog was asleep in his usual place. The house was quiet. He thought about the word alert, about what it meant when applied to an animal rather than an instrument. Instruments beeped, lights came on, numbers changed on screens. This had been different. This had been a living thing making a decision about what the information required and then executing the decision daily, without acknowledgement, without the guarantee that anyone would ever understand what it was doing. Just doing it. Just staying at the post. He looked at the dog sleeping. He thought about what he owed this animal. Not gratitude, exactly. Gratitude implied a transaction, and there had been no transaction. The dogs had not done this for gratitude. Had done it because the biology of the house had changed, and the change required response. He thought about what he owed was more like attention. Like the kind of watching that he had finally done. The 40 minutes, or the night check, or the moment in the doorway when he had stopped explaining and started looking. He owed that. Consistently. He intended to give it. The dog stirred in his sleep. His legs moved briefly, running in some dream version of the yard, some private accounting of the day's information. Then he was still again.